The insidious dance begins subtly, a slow, almost imperceptible erosion of trust. At first they appear charming, intensely focused, perhaps even genuinely caring. Their attention makes you feel uniquely seen, valued, chosen. There's a sense of destiny in the air, as though you've met someone who truly understands you. They offer emotional intensity, promises of mutual growth, shared dreams, and for a while, it feels like you've found something rare. But as time unfurls, a chilling clarity emerges. The warmth was a mirage. Their attention was not truly centered on you, but rather what you symbolized, what you provided, what they could gain. The adoration begins to fade, replaced by subtle criticisms, confusing detachment, or emotional coldness. You start to feel like a performer in their world, expected to serve their script while your needs slowly disappear from the narrative. They are expert observers, quickly identifying your strengths, your gifts, and your vulnerabilities. But their aim is not intimacy, it's strategy. Every interaction, every kindness is transactional. You find yourself giving more and more, stretching beyond your limits, trying to meet needs that were never clearly asked for but always expected. Slowly it dawns, the reciprocity you hoped for was a fantasy. You weren't seen for your soul, only used for your resources, your effort, your care. This is not merely selfishness, it is exploitation. This is the manipulative user. Unlike a person who occasionally puts their needs first, the manipulative user operates through a consistent, patterned dynamic. They seek to extract emotional energy, social access, financial assistance, or simple attention. Their sense of entitlement runs deep. They often lack empathy or ignore the impact of their actions. People are not valued as individuals, but seen through a utilitarian lens, tools to be used, then discarded. The manipulative user rarely reflects on their behavior. Instead, they craft justifications. They were just hurt before, they didn't mean it that way, or you're simply too emotional. But over time, their pattern becomes undeniable. Scripture warns us of this kind of spirit. Proverbs 29 verse 7 says, "The righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern." It is this absence of concern, this cold self-interest, that defines the manipulative user. Their tactics are vast. It often begins with a charm offensive, rapid attachment, intense flattery, or so-called love bombing. They may shower you with attention or gifts, not from generosity, but to create a feeling of obligation. The praise is often personalized, even addictive, making it harder to discern manipulation from sincere interest. This phase often feels magical, spiritual even. You believe you found your person. But that intensity isn't sustainable, and eventually the warmth cools. When that charm no longer achieves their goals, the tactics shift. They guilt trip. They use emotional pleas, victim stories, or exaggerated misfortune to evoke sympathy. They may pretend to be incapable of simple tasks, feigning helplessness to coerce your involvement. This is known as weaponized incompetence. And more disturbingly, they may withhold affection, become silent, or create a sense of impending rejection, not to communicate pain, but to regain control. They may also triangulate, introducing others into the dynamic to create jealousy or competition. They keep you guessing, unsure of your place. The user tests your boundaries, slowly escalating what they take, probing how far they can push without resistance. If you object, they may gaslight you, manipulating your memory, twisting your words, and making you question your own experiences. You may hear things like, "You're too sensitive, that never happened," or "You're making things up." Over time, your reality becomes harder to trust. You become less confident in your ability to interpret your own feelings and experiences, more reliant on their interpretations and approval. But why do we fall into these patterns? Because many of us lead with empathy. We hope for the best in others. We want to help, to heal, to see the good. Often those most vulnerable to manipulation are those with soft hearts and generous spirits, people who believe in loyalty, who hope for change, and who fear abandonment. Those with a history of being overlooked or mistreated may cling to the hope that this time will be different. And for those with abandonment wounds, the very idea of setting a boundary or walking away can feel unbearable. The manipulative user senses this. They lean on your kindness, your conflict aversion, your desire to be loved. They sense who will give more, bend more, and tolerate more, and they exploit that. Proverbs 11:3 reminds us, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. It is not your integrity that failed, it is their treachery that poisoned the relationship. The emotional toll is enormous. You are left questioning yourself. You try harder, give more, sacrifice your peace, only to be met with increasing emotional withdrawal. Your trust in others begins to falter. Your own self-perception becomes unstable. You feel foolish, used, and alone. And often the manipulator begins to isolate you from others, subtly undermining your support system so that your dependence on them deepens. You begin to question your instincts and lose the ability to differentiate between love and control, kindness and manipulation. When the manipulator is confronted, their strongest weapon is denial. They will insist you're imagining things. They will deflect, accuse, and shame. To admit wrongdoing would shatter their curated image. Many cannot emotionally process guilt or shame, so they bury it, denying the harm they caused and blaming the one who dares to name it. This denial is not just defensive, it is abusive. It erodes your sanity, it steals your clarity, it reinforces your dependency on them to define what is real. This kind of manipulation can lead to symptoms of trauma, anxiety, depression, dissociation, even PTSD. You may begin to struggle with sleep, digestion, focus. You become consumed by the effort to understand them and reclaim your sense of truth. In these moments, the path forward is not through winning the argument or extracting a confession. It is through reclaiming your inner compass. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. What you experience matters, even if they will never validate it. The goal is no longer to be understood by them. It is to be faithful to your own understanding. This is the real turning point. The decision to stop seeking resolution from the one who caused the harm, and instead, to find it in yourself. This doesn't mean cold detachment or punitive silence. People with abandonment sensitivity need more than dismissiveness disguised as strength. Setting boundaries must be done with clarity and kindness, not as a way to punish, but to protect. Silence used as punishment is not healthy, but so too is self-sacrifice, not a requirement for love. Real boundaries are not walls. They are doorways where both love and respect walk in and out with dignity. They say, "This is what I need to feel safe and respected. This is what I will no longer accept." If the relationship is ongoing and cannot be cut off entirely, focus on structured boundaries. Define what you are and are not willing to give. Communicate with honesty. Let your actions reflect your self-respect. Avoid retaliating or mimicking their tactics. Instead, invest in your healing, journaling, therapy, time in safe relationships, and spiritual grounding. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your worth, not because of what you do for them, but because of who you are. Forgiveness will come if it comes in layers. You may forgive them, or you may simply forgive yourself for not seeing it sooner, for hoping too much, for giving so deeply. Your compassion is not a flaw. It is a sacred strength, but it must be guarded. It must be nurtured within environments that honor it. Proverbs 4:23 tells us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." That does not mean closing it off. It means tending it wisely. It means learning to trust yourself again, to trust your observations, your memories, your emotions, to say what I experienced was real and it matters. You do not need to harden to protect yourself. You need discernment, support, and truth. You do not need to match their denial with silence. You need to reclaim your voice. You do not need to hide your tenderness. You need to offer it to those who deserve it. The healing journey after such a relationship is not linear. There will be days of grief, rage, self-doubt, and sorrow, but there will also be moments of clarity, relief, strength, and joy. You are not alone. Many have walked through this dark valley and emerged more whole, not harder, but wiser, not colder, but clearer. And in all of this, remember what Christ said in Matthew 10:16. "I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." We are called not to be naive, but to be discerning, not to be cynical, but to be wise, and above all, to remain rooted in love, even as we protect our peace. The truth is, your worth does not decrease because someone failed to see it. Their blindness is not your burden. Your story does not end in their denial. It begins with your truth. It continues with your strength, and it flourishes in the light of your healing.